Welcome to Discovery Watch with John Kaiser.
I'm your host, Jim Goddard. I'm speaking with John Kaiser. Welcome back to the show.
Jim, pleasure to be back on the show.
John, why did NuLegacy's gold stock price fall in half last Friday?
The company put out assay results for the first 3 core holes drilled this year on the Rift Anticline project in Nevada. And these holes did not have ore grade mineralization in it. They reported big, broad intervals of 100 to 300 meters of stuff intersecting all the right type of layer cake, lower plate layer cake that you want to find in this setting. And it's all altered and got the Carlin Pathfinders in it. But gold only occurred in numerous small intervals, generally 10 to 50 ppb, and in one of them it was up to 400 ppb. But all of that is very, very low grade. And when you average it over those big thicknesses, then you get even less than 10 ppb. So that discovery hole that we were looking for, confirming this big 3.5, 4 kilometer long structure is a Gold Rush clone. We have not seen that confirmation yet. Now they've got the holes also pending on a line that's about 500 meters to the west, at the northern end of which they drilled the first 2 holes late last year. And the vibe we're getting is that, those probably don't look very much different. And the question now emerging is, you're assuming the fluid flow, it is a Carlin type hydrothermal system. It's coming from the west, heading east, going up these low angle faults. And the hope was that, within the sort of axes of this, folded system, there would be vertical faults that would channel the fluids up into these broken up sponge-like rocks, brecciate and all that, similar to the big, fat 3.5 kilometer cigar that constitutes the Gold Rush deposit about 12, 15 kilometers to the north, and that's a 15 million ounce, 10 gram plus per ton system, and this is the analog that we were looking for here. Now they have enough holes into this system to show that obviously there is not a very big deposit similar to Gold Rush present. And now begins the vectoring game. And this happened to Nevada Exploration Inc. in 2019 with its South Grass Valley project, where they drilled a grid of core holes on a similar sized grid in the basin through the gravels, did confirm that there was a lower plate window present, that it was heavily altered and pumped with Carlin type fluids, but they also only got sort of up to 50 ppb intervals of gold in narrow fractures here and there, but nothing to really show, there's a big Gold Rush cigar sitting here. And South Grass Valley ended up doing another RC program last year, which helped them understand the direction of the fluid flow, and they realized it's coming from the east, flowing towards the west. And with all the geophysics and modeling of the stratigraphy from all the core holes that they were done, they were able to put together a geological picture that identified this north-south structural feature they call the Water Canyon Corridor, which they now know with the first core hole that they drilled this year. They've now confirmed this is the feeder structure that's bringing up the fluids and then pumping them up through the tilted stratigraphy that plunges into this structural zone. And that first hole they drilled is at the far northeastern end of the grid, and they did, at the very deep level, hit a very juiced up thick interval of their Cambrian limy mudstone, the CLM formation, which is the one in that package of rock, which is similar to the Wenban and the Hanson Creek and Roberts Mountain formations, which farther north are the sponges that soak up the gold in those systems. In the case of this package they have there, it's older lower plate rocks, but that doesn't really matter because all the lower plate rocks in this area are over 200 million years old, and the Carlin deposition window was from 40 to 25 million years ago. And so the question is, when the fluids came up, were they loaded with gold along with the Carlin pathfinders? And did they find the right sort of sponges to create rich Carlin-type gold deposits? So the market reacted negatively to NuLegacy's news because it now realizes this is going to be hard. What they're going to be looking for at the rift anticline is more something like the high-grade deposits in the North Carlin districts, such as Meagle and Betsy Post and Rodeo, and also the 4 Mile deposit, which was found north of Gold Rush, which is a much higher grade Carlin-type deposit. And that means vectoring, homing in. It means lots of expensive deep holes to find where something smaller but richer than Gold Rush is present within the rift anticline. Now maybe the vibe we're getting from the company that the holes in the western line might still deliver something could surprise us, but I don't think that's the case. And so the market dumped the stock from sort of 10, 11 cents down to 5, 6 cents where it is now parked. The company's just finishing up the ninth hole, and then they're going to pause all drilling and wait for all the results to come out. Some of them haven't even been shipped yet for assaying, and so probably a trickle of news over the next 2 months, and then a decision about what to do next. And the market's taken the glass half full to half empty and thinking, okay, we're just going to get vectoring information from these additional holes. The company will still have $7 to $8 million left, so it can continue. It doesn't have to go back to the market at these low prices. And in the case of Nevada Exploration Inc., they should be in receipt of the assay from hole number 12, the first core hole of this year, by now. And if for them the challenge is to prove that their system is fertile with gold. And you can have all the fluids with Carlin stuff in it. They don't have to have had gold in it. The problem with rift anticline now is the market is now saying, well, you're sort of in the boat that Nevada Exploration was at the end of its core program in 2019. You have evidence of this big Carlin system, but we do not know that it is pregnant with gold. And the original theory that everything that's to the east in the Serena iceberg area, there's now suspicion that mineralization might be related to a much later Northern Nevada rift event, and that it isn't really exhaust from a system coming from the west and blowing through the rift anticline that's to the west of the Serena iceberg system. And if this is the case, then the problem for rift anticline is twofold. One, they need to demonstrate that this hydrothermal system was very pregnant with gold, and then they need to figure out where were these structural sponges that would have soaked up this gold. So they are kind of where Nevada Exploration Inc. was in late 2019, and Nevada Exploration Inc., it still doesn't know if its system was very pregnant with gold, but through all the work that they have done, they've managed to figure out, well, the structural setting is this East Golden Gorge target, where they do have that big 90-meter interval of very juiced Cambrian limey mudstone loaded up with arsenic and stuff, but no assays yet for gold. And they have 3.5 minimum kilometers of this structural feature, and they have enough money in the treasury to drill 3 or 4 more holes, and they'll be doing that over the next 3 to 6 months. But the question for them is your system fertile? We know where the gold will end up. It'll take a lot of expensive drilling to figure out these high-grade Carlin-type deposits similar to the North Carlin deep ones and the 4 Mile. But we need to know, first of all, that the system was pregnant. And so this hole that's pending has something better than 10 to 50 ppb in it. That will be good news for that company. And it should also help out NuLegacy, because if this property in the middle of nowhere ends up being fertile with gold, then that and the stock takes off as a result, that should get the glass back to half full for Rift Anti-Line, as people say, okay, it will simply take more money and focus on more data to figure out where high-grade deposits are squirreled away inside this Rift Anti-Line target.
We'll have more with John Kaiser right after this.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications, patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome back. We're chatting with John Kaiser. John, how's the Caldera drill program of Discovery Habour coming along?
Well, Jim, I just spent under a week as a vacation in the Mammoth Lakes area on the California side of the border. And this is a fascinating volcanic area. Big explosion 600 years ago created the Long Valley Caldera. It's very, very big system. And we did hiking up in the Inyo National Forest, up into Alpine Lakes, had a great time, visited all these volcanic features like the Panam Crater, the Inyo craters, and the Hot Creek geothermal site. And the day we came back, they shut down everything, all the national forests, due to the fire problem that's rampaging. They shut down Northern California a couple of weeks ago, but now they've shut down all of California. And that got me worried about what's going to happen to the Humboldt-Toyabe National Forest, within which Discovery Habour's Caldera project is located. So I gave Mark Fields a call to get an update. They started drilling on August 4th, and they have now completed 2 holes. The first one's already shipped for assays. The third one is in the process of being completed. And they've got these 2 sort of structural lines of targets in the Caldera project. There's the E, I, and F target group, and that's to the southwest, and then in a parallel one to the northeast, consisting of D, A, and B. And this, unlike the Carlin type system that we were talking about with NuLegacy and Nevada Exploration Inc., this is a low sulfidation epithermal system, similar to the Midas deposit up in the northern part, north of Carlin, and also similar to the Sleeper deposit, which is in the northern end of the Walker Lane. And the dream here is to find something like a Sleeper. And Sleeper is kind of a twofold project deposit. It's a linear, structurally controlled system with high-grade gold shoots in it, and that portion, you can sort of say it's about 4 million tons of 13 gram per ton gold. But then it's also got this envelope of stockwork and stuff that's lower grade, and that's not really going to be the target at Caldera, because this program, the shallow drilling has already done by past operators. They've tried to find a round mountain, but it just isn't there. And the hypothesis that Discovery Habour is chasing is that when you get down into the 300 to 500 meter depth range, this is where the boiling zone in this particular location will be. This is where you will get high-grade gold dropping out in these chutes and veins, and there they hope to find something like a Sleeper, and that's like, 1.5 million to 2 million ounces type of thing, but high-grade, underground, mineable. And each of these targets, they're drilling 165-degree hole into it. These systems sometimes have visible gold in it, but often not. So they are not telling us anything about what they're seeing in the core. They're keeping us up to date at the progress. They should have the last 3 holes drilled by the end of this month. They should start seeing assays from the first hole in mid-October. And so this is a very interesting play that I'm putting a lot of attention into, because They're using geology to come up with a hypothesis and test it, and the payoff could be good because I've done an outcome visualization for a sleeper type deposit, and that would be worth about 1.3 billion Canadian today, and that would be a future at the current fully diluted of 164 million. That would be like an $8 future price for a stock that's trading at 9 cents, with the market assuming that this attempt to drill deeper to find the bonanza grade zones will end up failing. But the story is doubly interesting because that Fortuity 89 project located to the west, and that's a big 10 by 5 kilometer claim block that's been slapped over a small outcrop in the middle of the gravel flats. This is farmed out 75% to Newcrest, and Newcrest has done all the geophysics needed to understand the structural setting. They've got a 7-hole program planned, also tackling 300 to 500 meters because others like Kennecott have poked at the shallow part of the outcrop and seen that there's really nothing there. The big question with this system is, yes, they know it's a low sulfidation epithermal system, but they do not yet know whether it was fertile with gold. In the case of Caldera, they do know it's fertile with gold because the shallow drilling did find decent intervals of gold, but it never hung together to form a mineable deposit. And for whatever reason, the past operators, Homestake was in there for a while with an RC rig. They were looking for Round Mountain, and they never had a drill big enough to go deep enough, so they never bothered to do that in this area. And so, but their issue there is they know it's pregnant with gold, fertile with gold, but they don't know if those structures opened up at depth in the boiling zone, which then allowed the gold to drop out in these rich veins, as it has done at the sleeper deposit. And in the case of the Fortuity 89, Newcrest sees the scale of this. Their target, their 7 holes are stretched over a 1.6 kilometer strike. They're going to test also between the 300 to 500 meters because they know if this at the surface, this thing is very high, the boiling zone is going to be deeper. They have minimal gold near the surface. It's all like 10 ppb type of stuff. And this program, they hope to be able to get the permit from the BLM by early October. However, their problem is they also can't get a drill crew that's competent and capable of drilling these 300 to 500 meter vertical depth angled holes. So the big question is, will they have a drill crew lined up to start this high stakes program right when about the time when Discovery Habour should be getting the first of the results? And for me, this is a very interesting scenario because as the Caldera program wraps up and we go into the waiting mode for getting the holes, and the danger is that each hole comes back a blank. If they do get a discovery hole, they'll report it. Otherwise, they'll batch the first 3 from the southwestern line together, and so then we would get that in November sometime, and the other ones we would get in December. But if Newcrest can get its Fortuity 89 program going, Fortuity has all the money in the world. It has to deliver an economic study to best for 75%, and it can then buy out the project at fair value. And I've done the modeling that if you do find a sleeper, the same scenario as I did for Caldera, if you find a 4 million ton, 13 gram per ton sleeper style system that has to be underground mined at that 1,500 tons per day, well, again, in terms of the 25% that Discovery Habour would own without having to, do any more further dilution, that would be worth almost $2 a share. So these properties very close to each other, one outside the Humboldt-Tyabe National Forest, which so far has not been put off limits to anybody, as the national forests have in California. Both could be very exciting plays during the final quarter of this year.
John, thank you so much for the update.
You're welcome, Jim.
We've been talking with John Kaiser, his website, kaiserresearch.com. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on Discovery Watch are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any manner whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Archived online at howstreet.com. Discovery Watch is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.